Hello everybody, welcome to another tutorial. My name is Stress and today I am going to teach you how to make all kinds of doors. The first door I will be teaching you is a standard door that slides up. Over here I've got a block, over here I've got a block, and what I want to do is I want to create a shape in a slightly different color so that you can see it's actually a door. And I will place it down right here. We're gonna go ahead and uncheck static because I want my door to move. Currently, if we're gonna touch this block, it's gonna do nothing because it's stuck between these walls. But the first thing I want to go ahead and do is make sure that this block is only touching my character. Let's go to advanced. Let's go to collision right here, and we're going to set collision from everything to only characters. Let's click it, and let's click the screen and test it. And as you can see, the block starts falling out of the world because it can't touch these blocks right here, so it's just gonna fall straight through. Now we're gonna go over to joints and add a slide tool. We're gonna click our block, and the first thing we're gonna do is enable a limit and set the lower limit to 0. And what that does is prevents our block from falling down. So as you can see, it doesn't fall down anymore and our character is still able to touch it. Now we're gonna go ahead and set our upper limit, and I'm not sure what my upper limit is gonna be yet, so I'll just set it to like, I don't know, 500. I think that'll work fine. As you can see, the line goes up to there, and that should be plenty for my block. Now I'm going to go ahead and enable motor. I'm going to set the motor force to the maximum amount and the motor speed to 10. Let's play around with that a little to see how fast that goes. As you can see, that is really fast, so I'm going to lower it. I'd say 3. I'd say 3 works fine. Yeah, there you go. That seems pretty natural. Now there's a few things to point out here. First of all, that the door is actually in front of the block that it goes up, and I want it to be behind that. So we're going to click our block. We're going to press shift and we're going to press layer down. And now it's all the way down. It's the lowest on the level, and as you can see, the door slides into the wall very neatly. Next thing I want to do is make the door stick out a little bit. So I'm going to play around with my limit, my upper limit, until it seems suitable. So we're going to try 200 right now. And it stops about halfway. So I think 350 should be right. I still need a little more. That's it. Next up, I want to point out that this door is pretty useless because you can just go right through it. It goes right up. A simple way to solve this is by pressing the block, go to advanced and uncheck awake. And now our block is going to stay in place. However, when I touch it, the door still goes up. So that's still not a very good door if you want to use it to like prevent your house from getting broken into and everything. Now what we could also do is set our block to static, which means that whatever you're going to do, it's just going to stay in place no matter what. However, if we then go ahead and place down a trigger by going to the trigger tool and just adding it by sliding on the screen, we can create a place in the level that can activate my door. I'm going to go ahead and say add target and then make the target the door. And then I want my trigger to tell the door to stop being static. And the way I can do that is go to target 1, which is the block. And then I click on this pencil icon and I change empty to set static. Now that is going to allow me to control whether my block is static or not. And what we're going to do is we're going to uncheck static so that it's not static anymore. And as you can see right now, my block is static. But when I run into the trigger, which I placed right here, it's being set to unstatic, which basically opens up my door. Let's say I would want to drive into my door and it doesn't do anything. But then I would want to go to this place. And now when I go back to the door and I hit it, then it goes up. How do we do that? Well, we already have a trigger that when I touch it, it opens the door, as you can see. So now we need to set this trigger to disabled by clicking on enabled once more, like that. And then we're going to add another trigger right here, and that is going to activate this trigger. We can add another trigger as a target, as you can see. We go to our second one, we click it, and the target 1 action is going to be set enabled. That's it. So now with the text you can see exactly where my triggers are, and as you can see, if I drive into the first one, nothing happens. I can touch the door all I want, but it doesn't do anything. Now I drive into my second trigger and it activates the first one. That is all it has done, so the door still doesn't open up. But now when I drive here, the door starts opening up. So this is a pretty cool mechanic if you want to say, maybe there is a button here. Maybe there's a button that activates the door. Make sure that your button itself isn't static. That's pretty important. Now if I run into it, it goes back. And what we can do now is we can go ahead and select the second trigger and place it behind the block here. Now previously when I wanted to activate this trigger, it had to be activated by the character. And you can see that in the triggered by section where it says main character. Now if we want the block to trigger it, we can change it to attach targets only, add a target, and add the block. And now if the block touches it, bang, the first trigger gets activated and the door opens. The final thing I'm going to do here is make another poly drawing. We're going to say it's not a body, so it's just art. And we're going to draw this over this thing. And then what I want to do is make my button another color so that it stands out a little more. Okay, so now we can run into this trigger. The door doesn't open at all, but when we press the button, the door is going to open. When somebody is playing our level, we want to make sure that they understand that this button activates the door. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is create a lamp above the door. We're going to do this in a very simple way. We're just going to draw a box over this. Now I'll go to the geometry tool and add a circle, and we're going to place it down. We're going to move it under this block, and we're going to give it a red color. Now to make sure this works, I'm going to go ahead and copy the lamp, and I am going to color my second lamp green. So let's go to visuals, let's go to color fill and change it to green. I'll just place this here for now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this trigger and add it to the red lamp. Then I'll go to my second trigger and I'll go to target 3, which is the red lamp. And I will tell it to set the opacity to 0. And there you go, it's set to 0. So now when I press this, the red light disappears. I'm going to go and select my green shape. I'm going to move it all the way to the background by pressing shift and clicking the layer down. Now you can see it's able to move behind the red lamp. Then I'm going to click on a red lamp and see what the X and Y position are, and they are 332 and minus 245. I'm going to go ahead and enter this for my green lamp, and then you enter your X position and you press enter. There you go, it's now behind the red lamp. Finally, when I press the button, it becomes green and the door opens. What I'm now going to go ahead and do is teach you how we can turn this door from a single sliding door to a double sliding door, meaning that it slides up and down. To do that, we're going to move this block up here first until it's halfway the sliding tool. I'm going to go ahead and move the sliding tool a little bit to the side for now, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy my block by pressing C and move it down here. Then I'm going to go ahead and select my joint tool, select a slide joint and press it on the new door. I'm going to move this back up to the same level, and then I'm going to select my limits. Now this time my upper limit is going to be 0 and my lower limit is going to be exactly the same as the upper limit for my other slider tool. In this case it's 340, so I'm going to go back to the new slider tool and set it to minus 340. Enter. Now I'm going to go ahead and enable the limit to make sure that it works, and then I'm going to go to enable motor. Enable my motor, max motor force all the way up, and my motor speed is going to be minus 3 and press enter. Now if we want our lower part of the door to work, we have to copy the exact same settings we made for the upper part of the door. So if you remember that, I'll quickly run through. This is basically setting it to non-static, because as you can see the block is static. So we're going to do the same thing for the lower block. We're going to add a target and we're going to go ahead and click on the lower block. Then in the settings of target 2 actions, we will click on the pencil and we will say set static. And then we will uncheck this one, meaning it is not static. Finally, everything should be working as we set it up, and it is working, but we only have to tweak one thing. Because we moved our blocks around, the limits are a bit messed up, which means that the upper limit is still the same for this block, for example, but now it's a lot higher because we moved the block up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to play with those limits. This one is set to 340. We need a little less, so let's go ahead and try out 210. The last thing we have to do is make sure that the lower door is also hidden by a block. And we're just going to go ahead and copy this one and paste it here. Zoom in to make sure it is perfectly in position. And there you go. And there you go. Our door is done. Thank you for watching this door tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again in a next tutorial. Bye!